Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Do you ever feel like your job isn't fulfilling you? Or as if you're not putting yourself out there achieving your full potential at work? Maybe you're a manager, and you're concerned that your staff isn't as engaged as it should be or maximizing their potential, and you'd like to see them perform better. Concentrating on leveraging and developing your own abilities can assist you in realizing your full potential. In this course, I'd like to assist you in identifying your strengths and concentrate on maximizing your assets to become a high-value player who is indispensable. I'm Halili Azale, and I'd like to introduce myself. A talent grow leadership development strategist. Strength to Strength, for example, is the author of 2 works about maximizing your abilities and host of the Leadership Podcast. I'm passionate about assisting others put their skills to good use at work to help them maximize their abilities and prosper. This brief and actionable training will teach you how to. I'm going to show you how to recognize your own abilities, show you how to instantly play to your strengths, and provide you with advice on how to avoid it. There are a few frequent blind spots when it comes to your strengths. I'll show you how to troubleshoot your computer. There are 4 different approaches to improve your position if you're stuck in a job that makes you feel powerless. And I'll give you some pointers about how to communicate with your supervisor, and, if you're the boss, your employees, about putting one's strengths to work. Everyone has their own set of skills, so it's time to switch hands and begin to play to your strengths. I'm looking forward to getting started. Let's get started. Strengths aren't always apparent. They aren't Popeye muscles or IQs that are off the charts, or even what your best quality is, if you have one. Your abilities are far more sophisticated. The majority of individuals have a misunderstanding of what strengths are. But don't worry, I've got you covered. This lesson will teach you how to. I'll assist you in determining your true strengths, the essential elements that make up a toughness, as well as how to identify your own talents and put them to use at work. So, what does it mean to have a strength? You're familiar with the common meaning of the term. A well-developed ability or attribute is the polar opposite of weakness, or something you're particularly skilled at. However, in order to fully grasp this concept, I think a few more definitions would be more useful. One of the founders provided the original definition. Marcus Buckingham, founder of the strengths movement. He asserts that a strength's anatomy is talent plus information. Strength is equivalent to the sum of one's abilities. Buckingham defines skills as innate mental processes, feelings or actions. You're born with them if they're innate. They are not something that can be learned. Knowledge, according to Buckingham, is defined as facts, as well as the lessons learned. Finally, talents are the steps in a process. It's how you go about doing something. These things add up to a lot of power. The strength movement's other co-founder, Don Clifton, works for Gallup. He proposes a formula that is similar to this: strength is equivalent to talent multiplied by investment. Clifton, like Buckingham, sees skill as innate patterns. It's a state of mind, feeling, or behavior that can't be taught. Clifton, on the other hand, clarifies that investment refers to the amount of time spent practicing or honing abilities, and expanding information are 2 things you can do. Investing in your abilities, then, is where your strength lies. So, if you're more inclined to gravitate whether it's Buckingham's or Clifton's concept, the essential point I'd like you to keep in mind is that your strengths are made up of a number of different elements. It's not enough to be gifted. You must also improve your knowledge and abilities. You'll need to devote some time to this. In order to achieve a level of strength, this distinction is frequently lost in translation. When you think of the word strong, what comes to mind? So I'd like you to consider how you spend your time in order to improve your knowledge and abilities. My older son, for example, was born with a high inclination for violence in the direction of musical thought. As a small child, he was barely able to pull himself up to the coffee table and stand. He could tap to any song's beat. It was playing in the background with incredible precision that is undeniably a natural gift. But it doesn't make it a strength in and of itself. He'd have to study music and learn how to read notes, comprehending musical composition, and hone his instrument playing talents in order to be able to take advantage of his musical abilities as a source of productive power now. And here's why it's crucial: just expanding your knowledge or honing your skills will not result in it's a unique innate ability. That, when combined with hard work and growth, creates your own special strength. So consider your unique qualities. Are you a well-organized person? Do you have a natural ability to think creatively? Do you have a natural talent for design and aesthetics? These are the skills you should be developing. These are the keys to leveraging your strengths. To achieve excellent job achievements and fulfillment as you evaluate your abilities, keep this in mind. Always keep the essentials in mind. It's a mix of inherent ability and hard work, with hard-won knowledge and abilities. Download the exercise file that is attached. You begin to identify your strongest abilities. The terms knowledge and skills are interchangeable. This is the first step towards recognizing the problem and making the most of your assets. Something that makes me extremely sad is when at work, you'll come across people who are just scraping by, just drudging with our heads down and blinders on. By way of their everyday routine, they're numbing themselves in every way they can, so they don't have to deal with disappointment or a dissatisfaction with their job. This saddens me because it does not have to be this. You'll be able to identify your strengths once you've discovered them and start leveraging them. Your life can drastically improve. And when the individuals with whom you work are capitalizing on their advantages, that's when everything starts to fall into place. As a result, I'd like you to begin to comprehend how your abilities benefit you, your team, and your company, as well as your company, and, perhaps most crucially, I want you to be able to express that and take action as a result of it. First and foremost, concentrating on your strengths might make you happier and assist you in realizing your full potential. That includes your professional life. Playing to your talents professionally will allow you to succeed. Make a better impression on your boss. The ordinary company focuses on discovering new ways to save money, as well as identifying and repairing flaws and blind spots. The strengths movement aims to change that. Instead of concentrating your efforts as well as time spent fixing your flaws, you work to keep them at bay. No one ever succeeds by concentrating all of their efforts on the things they aren't very good at and you're not having fun. Instead, put your scarce energy to good use. Given a limited amount of time to focus on honing your skills, because that is where growth will take place. When you're speaking with your boss or coworkers, you can make a case for some significant changes in the way you work. If their employment has been delegated to them and completed in a manner that is unique, you're ready for those kinds of outstanding performance results, aren't you? One of my greatest assets, for example, is my desire to learn new things. When my job allows me to learn new things, I thrive. And where I have a need to update and learn new things, it is considered a value add to learn or practice new abilities. In a certain setting where this is regarded as a source of annoyance or distraction, I wouldn't be able to do my finest work. I wouldn't be pleased either. As a result, I must be able to advocate for my want to study and be ready to explain the benefits it can provide to my organization and my team. So, I'm presenting my case here. Why it's beneficial, but what I truly want you to be able to do is make the decision. Working to your strengths is a good business strategy. Results in improved business outcomes for all parties concerned. So, have you been using your skills to their full potential? What do you enjoy doing and excel at? What a wonderful thing it would be if you could work to your strengths and continue to grow each day. When you're working with your abilities, you're more likely to succeed. Obviously, you enhance the experience for the benefit of those who collaborate with you, and when everyone on your squad plays to their abilities, it's a win-win situation. The mood and performance of the entire team has improved to a greater extent. In addition, then there's the company, and then there's the clientele. Everyone in the ecosystem gains as a result. Do you ever get so engrossed in something that you lose track of time? That you have entirely lost track of time? You start working on it, and before you know it, it's finished. It's 4 hours later, and you've completely forgotten about lunch. Without feeling hungry, or even noting the passage of time. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, a psychologist, believes this. Referred to as a condition of flow, it's also one of the signals your body sends you. Discuss your advantages even though there are evaluations that can assist you in discovering your top strengths. The good news is that they aren't required. Every day, life provides you with a plethora of clues. Discuss your advantages, it's only a matter of noticing them. There are 5 main and useful hints that can assist you in gaining insight into your strengths. Don Clifton claims that one of the founding fathers of the strengths movement. This is how you might start detecting these signs in yourself. Once you begin to identify your strengths, yearnings are the first indicator. A craving is similar to a pull or a magnetic force that entices you to participate in a specific activity or the environment on a regular basis. My younger son, who was 7 years old at the time, he got into skateboarding when he was a kid. He's now 19 years old, and he's been doing it since then. Every day, all day, he eats, drinks, and breathes skating. Rapid learning is another indicator. Clifton claims that a solid sign you're playing to your strengths when you're confronted with a fresh problem, or a different setting when you light a fire under yourself and acquire a new skill, or the acquisition of new information in a short period of time. In some domains, we all experience rapid learning. However, this is not the case in all cases. For example, I am not a quick learner. That have something to do with numbers or statistics very quickly or very easily. That is not one of my strong suits. The final indicator is contentment. When you take on new tasks that allow you to use your abilities, it's a win-win situation. You will feel fulfilled if you complete them effectively. It's a powerful feeling. We don't receive it from everything we do, after all. Flow or timelessness is a clue you may be familiar with. When you become completely immersed in an activity. Hunger, and the fact that you lose count of time. Or any other bodily sensations because you're completely engrossed. At the start of this lecture, I mentioned the sensation. It's powerful and almost unexpected. In reality, if more of us had the opportunity to experience the sensation of flow, we would all be better off. More frequently in our work, not only would there be a lot more happiness in the air, but however, the findings are of far higher quality. Last but not least, there are glimpses of excellence. When you excel at something and outperform the majority of others, it could be an indication of a strength. We frequently take our abilities for granted. Because they are so readily available to us, however, if others appear to be having difficulty with anything, something comes very naturally to you. This could be one of the indications you're looking for. You'll notice what you focus on if you're paying attention. So I'm hoping you'll start spotting the hints you've been getting for a long time, as a result of which you will be able to appreciate and make better use of your assets. To get you started, here are some suggestions. Take a look at the exercise linked. That will transport you back in time and assist you in your hunt for clues. Some people have a natural ability to judge their own abilities. The indications appear, and they are able to recognize their own abilities and begin playing music for them right now. If it isn't you, taking an online assessment can help you in a variety of ways. To assist you in fully comprehending your prime strengths on the market, there are a variety of exams to choose from. For a more detailed assessment of your strengths, each evaluation uses slightly different wording and methods, but the ideas that emerge in the end should be comparable and assist you in learning more about your own personal abilities. I use 2 assessments with my clients on a regular basis. The VIA Character Strength Survey is a questionnaire that asks people about their strengths and weaknesses. And the Strengths Finder or Clifton Strengths Assessment. Obviously, they aren't the only 2 points of view. There are numerous evaluations available at a variety of price points, so go ahead and take a look around. Then pick one that is within your budget. I do, however, advise using a reliable company. To assure good quality, use a validated assessment. The VIA Institute for Character Development. The Character Strength Survey is available. This is a fantastic free evaluation that can be found at viacharacter.org. The Survey of Character Strengths. Dr. Chris Peterson designed it. One of the forefathers of the science of positive psychology, it's also built around 6 virtues and 24 strengths that provide the source of that virtue. Wisdom and knowledge are 2 of the 6 virtues. Cognitive abilities that necessitate the acquisition of and the application of knowledge, bravery, emotional strengths that require the use of willpower to achieve objectives in the face of adversity, whether external or interior. Interpersonal characteristics that include attention to others' needs and making new friends. Justice, civic virtues that underpin a thriving community. Temperance is a character trait that protects against excess. And transcendence, qualities that help people connect, bring meaning to the greater universe. The VIA Character Strength Survey is one of my favorites. Since it is costless to take, it has also been psychometrically evaluated. I adore the enormous impact that positive psychology has been putting in, and this evaluation is based on and makes a significant contribution to research that practitioners employ to assist people in flourishing. Oh, and the VIA is a wonderful plus. There's also a youth assessment you can use with your children. Another well-liked opinion on the market. Gallup's Clifton Strengths Finder 2.0 is a new version of the Clifton Strengths Finder. It's been renamed Clifton Strengths in recent years. It also has 34 fundamental strengths. They are divided into 4 domains or themes: execution, assisting you in bringing your ideas to life; influencing, assisting you in taking action, speaking up, etc., as well as ensuring that others be heard; establishing relationships, establishing and maintaining strong bonds and bringing a group together; as well as strategic thinking, which will assist you in making better selections and produce greater results. Your strengths will emerge from these 4 topics. And I think this is fascinating. Gallup estimates that the probability that 2 people have the same top 5 skills, 1 in 33 million, is the same order. The Clifton Strengths Assessment is one of my favorites, due to the fact that it is one of the most widely utilized. Many well-known instruments for evaluating strengths are available on the market. This is an excellent evaluation, especially if having a companion book is something you appreciate. There are also other further resources. Clifton Strengths has given this information to assist in the support your path to improve your strengths in the future. The assessment is available for purchase online. Alternatively, you might purchase the Strengths Finder book, which discusses every one of the 35 advantages. There's also a link to the online test. These can be found at strengths.gallup.com. Regardless of which test you use, I do have one apparent but crucial piece of advice: be truthful. Due to the fact that these assessments are analyzing when it comes to your own self-reporting, it's critical to be truthful with your current situation. There are no correct or incorrect replies. So, don't respond in the way you believe you should, or the method that appeals to you the best. Junk in, junk out, as they say. So simply answer truthfully. Look for recurring trends or places where your skills complement each other, and see if the results ring true for you with your own perceptions of your own abilities. Taking a strengths evaluation might be beneficial, and in general, a quick way to learn more into your own abilities. It can also be extremely beneficial to groups if the entire team participates in these evaluations, and then they share their findings. As a result, I strongly advise you to block off 30 minutes on your schedule to take one of these tests and analyze the findings. The outcomes can be extremely instructive. Have you ever found yourself in a scenario like this, where you notice stuff in other people that they don't seem to be able to recognize in themselves? It could be a lack of self-awareness or extreme humility, for example, where something is taken for granted or minimize their importance. Is it possible that this is occurring to you as well? Getting feedback from others can be a valuable source of information for identifying your assets, because you aren't the only one who feels this way. Figuring out who you are through analyzing clues. You leave clues for others to find all the time. People in your immediate circle are aware of you. as well as the value you contribute, your assets. So, if you're trying to figure out what your top strengths are, enlist the help of persons who are familiar with you and with whom I've had contact in several areas of your life: your loved ones, friends, and co-workers, old supervisors, co-workers, etc. Basically, anyone you trust and who knows you well. Now, how do you get feedback? It's critical to think about your assets. This can produce a variety of outcomes, so here are a couple ways to solicit feedback, depending on how far you'd like to go. The first choice is to keep things basic and understated. Choose a small group of people, between 5 and 10, to work with, and casually bring it up in conversation. You could say anything along the lines of, "Hey, I've been attempting to identify and capitalize on my assets. I'm curious as to what you think my greatest strengths are." You might perhaps go for something a little more elaborate, using a technique known as the Reflected Best Self exercise, or RBS, which is a technique for getting feedback. When you're at your best, think about who you are. You are required to request favorable feedback as part of the activity. You have between 10 and 20 significant persons in your life. The idea is to have a variety of perspectives and interactions. To get them to think of 3 qualities or characteristics, ask them to write them down. They believe you show when you're at your finest and are adding value or contributing in a constructive way. In addition, you ask them to recount 3 stories. When they've witnessed each of these characteristics in action, it's a heartfelt and rewarding experience that has the potential to reveal a lot of intriguing light on your quest for strengths. I've done it and recommended it to a large number of the people I've mentored. It's a very eye-opening experience. I strongly advise you to attempt this touching and lovely experience. You can learn more about this evaluation by clicking here. ReflectedBestSelfExercise.com is a website dedicated to self-reflection and self-improvement. Now I'll present you with your final selection. It's in the middle of the 2 I've recommended. When it comes to formality and complexity, however, the concepts are the same. Make a survey that is anonymous. Use a service such as SurveyMonkey or Google Forms with just 1 question. Request 3 characteristics that best characterize you, and send it to at least 25 individuals who are familiar with you. Again, I'm looking for a variety of viewpoints. To achieve a more well-rounded result as well as avoiding accidental blind areas, it only takes them 1 minute to finish. It is significantly more straightforward in terms of input and output in comparison to the RBS. You will, however, receive a more complete and extensive response. Rather than simply asking your friends in casual interactions, you'll be astounded. You get back in terms of feedback and overlap in a brief and straightforward survey. Use other people's ideas as a source of inspiration. On your path to discovering your own strengths, whether you question them casually or through a poll, they will respond. Or even the exercise of reflected best self, what matters is that you pay attention to what they have to say. You might be surprised by what you discover, and you may begin to see your skills in a different way. Isn't that amazing? Have you ever helped with a home improvement project? Or a craft project in which you had to follow a pattern as well as slicing and dicing materials? Alternatively, a cooking or baking project that necessitated the use of what are the exact measurements and ingredients? Would you go ahead and collect the parts before learning the specifics of your strategy or a pattern or a recipe necessitates? It's unlikely. It could result in something unsightly or inedible. Strengthening is the same way. You must be aware of your components prior to attempting to maximize them or reworking your work to make it more appealing to them. The following are the most crucial measures to take that bridge the gap between knowing your abilities and doing something about them, and putting them to good use in a planned way. First and foremost, you must recognize your own top strengths. You can't just guess what your skills are, or take a stab at it. Using hints, evaluations, and feedback from the persons in your life who are the most familiar with you, you should be able to obtain a map that is more objective. One of your core competencies following that it's critical to comprehend what motivates you to excel. Don't make assumptions. Take the time to evaluate and comprehend your own strengths. These lessons would be useless if they weren't taught. You'll be like a ship without a captain if you don't have a captain. As a result, make a significant time and mental investment to evaluate and scrutinize your own abilities. If you're a leader who is assisting your team, it will undoubtedly necessitate some financial commitment on your behalf. To assist your team members in identifying their own individual strengths, this is an important stage that should not be overlooked. Return to your previous example of a home makeover. Wouldn't it be nice to know what you're talking about? The most user-friendly layout possibilities, the dimensions of the walls in terms of their width and height, details about the plumbing, and more before you start planning the precise components you're going to buy and install? You would, of course. The same can be true in general of your self-improvement efforts. If you want to create a life that allows you to take advantage of opportunities and maximizing your ability to work to your strengths, it is preferable to have a clear understanding. Before you remodel, figure out what your strengths are. Interventions of any type, especially if they may need a shift in how, where, and when things are done, or with whom you collaborate. Right. Make the effort to find your strengths as precisely as possible, otherwise, your development efforts could not provide any results. The outcomes you had hoped for. You've probably heard the idiom fish out of water. A tiger in a china shop? They use vivid pictures to demonstrate how crucial it is. Enables your surroundings to be tailored to you and your particular abilities. So, how well does your work environment suit you? To your advantages? Does your place of business allow you to be yourself? To express oneself freely and on a frequent basis, and make the most of your greatest assets? I'd like you to think about how you already utilize it. Your most valuable assets at work. Carefully evaluating your surroundings and activities. Begin by examining your surroundings more closely. If you're like the majority of individuals, you devote a significant portion of your day to your job. So, at work, where are you already putting your best skills to use? Jose's adaptability, for example, is one of his greatest assets. He has a habit of going with the flow. He's a person who lives in the present and accepts things as they are. One day at a time, he discovers the future. Jose is a software programmer for an app development company that is still in the early stages of development. Being adaptable is one of his important success elements. And able to react to both technological and market fluctuations, Jose excels in his job because he can put his skills to good use. His ability to flow and adjust is a strength of his. As consumer needs evolve, he updates his software code. Jose's position also has the added benefit of being part of a small startup company. Wearing multiple hats and turning repeatedly to acquire a competitive advantage over some of the larger competitors' rivals who are known for being hesitant to change. Jose considers his work environment and role to be challenging. Allow him to grow and put his adaptability to good use on a regular basis. Here's another illustration. Andrea works in the field of interior design. Ideation is one of her greatest assets. She is enthralled by concepts and possesses a unique ability to communicate them, to make connections between seemingly unrelated events. Andrea is the type of person that thinks like this, where everything has to be in the right place at the same time. Every piece of furniture embodies a concept and serves a purpose in harmony with the rest of the contents in the room. Imagine Andrea's work environment being cluttered with a mishmash of office furniture and harsh lighting. She is unlikely to produce her finest creative design work. In this location, it would most likely be horribly annoying and will almost certainly result in subpar results. So consider your top strings and have a look about. Is your workplace and work environment supportive of your strengths? Is it true that your tools are assisting you? If you're a communicator, this is for you. Have you got a decent hands-free gadget? Do you have whiteboards if you're a strategist? Or a stack of large notepads at your disposal? It's critical to become conscious of your existing situation. The work environment and how it aids or hinders productivity, your capacity to put your skills to good use at work. This awareness will assist you in appreciating and savoring what you have. The areas where you and your partner are a good match, a balance between your employment and your assets. It will also assist you in identifying any inconsistencies that you might then fine-tune to make it a better fit. You don't want to go through this every day. Like if you were an out-of-water fish. Alternatively, a bull in a china store. It's just too brief to not make the most of your abilities. Do you want to know what the best hidden secret is? It's not your strong suit, to be sure. Keeping your assets tucked away or to yourself isn't helpful to anyone, especially you. Bringing the greatest version of yourself to work and putting forth your best efforts generally necessitates the assistance of others or, at the very least, their comprehension. So, even if it feels awkward or boastful, go ahead and do it. Taking advantage of your assets is a huge component of maximizing your potential. Involves discussing your professional strengths. I'd like to provide some suggestions to assist you with framing. Manner you speak about your abilities with your boss, co-workers, and peers. To begin, you must get past the concept that the secrets to your success are your strengths. Your strengths aren't a closely guarded secret. Make an effort to become used to this concept. By inquiring about the opinions of your co-workers, what are your professional strengths? Provide them with a framework in which to comment on your work, as well as their contributions to the workplace. It won't feel as intimate this way. Make it a two-way street as well. I recommend that you discuss your strengths with your boss, your co-workers, and your peers. Inquire about their abilities. Encourage open dialogue about what makes you special and powerful. When, how, and how much you talk about your strengths is all up to you. Varies depending on the work. These are dependent on your roles and situations, contexts. However, regardless of your position, you can and should look for opportunities to share your abilities with others at work you spend a lot of time with. In an open-ended staff meeting, ask your peers, maybe go have a cup of coffee and strike up a discussion. If you're meeting with someone one-on-one, this is an excellent time to highlight your assets. To make your speech more structured around your talents, inquire about people's strengths and share your own. Then talk about what kind of assistance you'd prefer, or fresh possibilities you'd like to investigate as a means of maximizing and developing your strengths. Keep an open mind to new ideas, and consider comments from your coworkers. Finally, think about the moment and the surroundings. If your boss appears to be grumpy today, perhaps it would be wiser to postpone bringing this up on a day when she is feeling more upbeat. Alternatively, if you believe it is preferable to talk about it in a small, private setting, consider taking a walk or having a cup of coffee and bringing it up there instead of in a meeting room just prior to the staff meeting or in front of everyone in the corridor. Set aside time to go more into the subject. Make a plan for success and go for it. If this isn't a topic, please don't say anything you've ever mentioned before. It could be awkward to bring it up. I understand. However, it should not be considered forbidden or strange to discuss your strengths. They are the catalysts for giving and receiving. The most important thing at work. It has a significant impact. So take a risk and give it a shot. As a result, I issue a challenge to you in the coming week to converse with coworkers, your employer, your coworkers, and your team. Consider what your assets are. Make an effort to discover at least one new method to make the most of your strengths. Also, one approach to make the most of another's assets. As a result, please download the following exercise file to aid in the direction of this exercise. I believe you'll discover that speaking up is beneficial. Working together has certain advantages. Assume you've decided to go to a popular tourist spot, such as Yellowstone National Park or the Grand Canyon. Assume you choose to drive there. Consider what would happen if, instead of figuring out how long the trip will take, which route is the best, etc., as well as bringing refreshments and drinks, you've just gotten inside your vehicle and began driving down the road. I'm hoping you'll figure it out as you go. You say it's a formula for disaster. Some people, on the other hand, take a different approach to their own growth. Similarly, in an unforeseen manner. Make sure you're not one of them. To alter behavior, you must devise a strategy. With clear objectives and activities, I'd like to use this lesson to assist you in identifying desired changes, as well as preparing and implementing your strategy, so that you can achieve your objectives and begin playing to your strengths more quickly and effectively. First and foremost, regardless of where you fall on the strength spectrum, I'd like you to adopt a growth mentality. Carol Dweck's research at Stanford University demonstrates the benefits of adopting a growth mindset means considering yourself to be a work in progress. Never stagnant, always capable of changing and evolving, and the quest of self-improvement was never completed. When it comes to development, having a growth mentality is crucial. So you've decided to adopt a development mentality, right? You also have a plethora of knowledge about your own abilities, as well as how you'll use your special sauce. Create a development strategy now. Seriously, like any other large undertaking, I want you to make a development plan for yourself. To make the most of your assets, nothing will actually change if you don't have one. Or, at the very least, not purposefully and mindfully, and it was done on purpose. Answer the following questions to help you create your strategy. To begin, consider what you need to do more of. To fully utilize and enhance your professional strengths, look for places that already exist, that are already heading in the right direction, but that you can make them more effective or increase their advantages. To reach to greatness, you must first grow the good. Next, consider what you need to do less of, to allow you to develop your strengths. There are definitely some habits, actions, or events that you are aware of that obstruct your progress and can be reduced. Get out of your own way to reduce friction. There are a few more questions along those lines. Are the things that need to change? Who do you need to help you? What resources can you use to aid you in your quest? You must also consider how will you keep track of your progress? What deadlines and milestones are you going to concentrate on? There is no plan that will work without these distinct, quantifiable features. Finally, how will you commemorate tiny victories and significant achievements of these objectives and milestones? This isn't a nice-to-have item. Teresa Amabile is a Harvard professor. Stephen Kramer, her co-author, wrote a fantastic book. The Progress Principle is the title of the book. According to their findings, persons have a substantially higher level of happiness and well-being when they recognize little moves in the direction of a goal and congratulate them. Rather than merely celebrating when they achieve their goal, they should do so throughout the process. So keep your eyes on the prize. Take baby steps and celebrate the minor victories. To commemorate how far you've progressed to make the most of your assets. According to Benjamin Franklin's famous statement, you are planning to fail if you do not prepare. Make a plan and stick to it if you don't want to fail. And make the most of your assets. Have you ever attempted to alter your physical appearance? By altering your eating and physical activity habits? I'm sure we've all done it. Normally, you select a type. To adhere to a nutritional program, perhaps you should try the ketogenic diet. Alternatively, you can begin an exercise routine. For instance, take daily walks. You most likely had a goal in mind. Perhaps a lower resting heart rate would help. Or to be able to fit into your old slacks. So, did you go back after that? And take your heart rate or waist circumference measurements to see how far you've come. I'm hoping this lands with a bang. Obviously, this is a no-brainer. How would you know whether you're getting the outcomes you want if you don't keep track of your progress? How would you know if you had a chance to correct your course if you don't take the time to notice that, in fact, despite the fact that you're sticking to your strategy, instead of decreasing inches, you're gaining them? Exactly. If you want to be successful, you must keep track of your progress. Here's an example of a method you can utilize to keep track of your progress, to make sure you're using your skills to their full potential. First and foremost, make a calendar entry for your plan. Make an appointment with yourself on a regular basis to see how far you've come. Once a month or once a quarter, for example, is a regular occurrence, depending on your personal preferences and circumstances. Make your decision right now. How frequently do you want to review your progress? Make a note of it. It does not have to be difficult. Perhaps it will take a long time to put the suggestion into action. Let's imagine, for example, that one of your greatest assets is your ability to communicate effectively. Is a feeling of admiration for beauty and achievement when you wish to include it into your work more frequently. As a marketing director, you can resolve to write something down every day. 3 instances of excellence or beauty that you take note of in what you see throughout the course of your working day, such as your business's website, your customers' items, and so on. Or the marketing materials of your coworkers. So you want to take some time once a month, perhaps, to reflect on the past? And checking to see if you followed through on what you stated you'd do, and keep track of your 3 peaks every day. I also recommend figuring out how you'll keep track of your success. And keep a journal of your thoughts and views. Some folks choose to keep a unique notepad. Perhaps a journal dedicated solely to this project. Others like to work using a spreadsheet or any other type of computer-based document. Others, on the other hand, may discover a fitting app that they can use on their preferred mobile device. Use whatever you believe will be most effective for you. Don't let the tracking method get the best of you. Become an impediment to your success when you do these check-ins on a regular basis. Don't forget to think about some of these issues. And keep track of your responses in your preferred tracking system. What were your objectives? What kind of progress have you achieved thus far? So, in our case, you'd peek to see if you'd completed your 3 glances. Every day, write a diary entry about beauty or excellence. Another thing to consider is what worked and what didn't work. Perhaps you'll remember that you forgot to do it. On days when you had multiple meetings in a row, however, on days when I remembered, I did it. When your schedule was a little less jam-packed, inquire as to what stumbling blocks inevitably arose. How did you deal with them? So you may have noticed that there were a few instances where when you couldn't think of anything to jot down in your diary, you overcame that stumbling block. Also, what are some possible future roadblocks? What can you do to work with or around them in your planning? What are the new objectives, duties, and goals? As well as the deadlines you'll be working on to keep your strategy alive and well? As an example, once you've received the 3 peaks have become a habit, you can make it a habit to speak up more often about greatness and beauty. Then you can decide that your tracking objective is 2. It might be possible to accomplish so in at least 2 daily exchanges. And write about it in your journal. It's not a good idea to set it and forget it when it comes to your strategy. To attain the desired outcomes, you need to check in on a frequent basis to see if your strategy is effective, as well as techniques to keep your progress going or avoiding detours along the way. One of the most prominent criticisms leveled towards the strengths movement is that it allows for the overlooking of flaws. With so much emphasis on strengths, what about your non-weaknesses or flaws? What are your options for dealing with them? Do you think you should just ignore them? No, absolutely not. Your non-strengths are a part of your personality. It's actually just as useful to be aware of them. Knowing your strengths is just as important as knowing your weaknesses. Development based on strengths encourages people to concentrate on enhancing their strengths, whereas development based on flaws encourages people to look for defects and weaknesses in themselves and then figure out how to improve them. Both are crucial. As well as development based on strengths, it isn't about ignoring your flaws and acting as if they aren't there. Don't make the same mistake as an ostrich. As well as burying your head in the sand. It's ridiculous to have a weakness. Hello, we can see your butt up in the air. Rather than disregarding your flaws, focus on them. I want you to take the initiative and lead with your strengths. As well as counteract your flaws, I'd like you to reorder the development priorities and devote more of your time to it on enhancing your abilities, without forgetting to confront your flaws. Remember that unaddressed flaws can bring you down. So, here are some options for you to consider. To compensate for your flaws first, it's critical to recognize your flaws. And to just enough develop them so that they don't cause a squabble can stifle your progress. Consider how your assets can help you. Forces that are either neutral or positive, and your flaws are a hindrance, negative forces, etc. You want to bring your flaws to the table, up to the point of neutrality, while boosting the power of your strengths. Nobody can achieve world-class status in anything that isn't a quality, it's a flaw. Regardless of how much work they put forth, they have the potential to become good, if not exceptional. But it's the combination of ability and knowledge that makes the difference. Plus abilities that have the potential to be the elixir to assist you in feeling unstoppable. Another suggestion I have is to form a partnership with someone who sees your flaw as a virtue. It's almost as though that skill set is being outsourced, so that you aren't the one who has to do it. It isn't, however, disregarded or ignored. Every month, I have a bookkeeper who keeps me on track, as well as a CPA to assist with year-end taxes. As a result, the focus on weakness-based growth is erroneous. Deprives you of a chance to achieve that level of performance at work because you have a certain amount of time and energy to invest. Time and resources to development. You've squandered it now on a lose-lose situation. If broad picture thinking is one of your strengths, for example, recognize that you aren't good with specifics, and add a little additional time to your schedule to proofread and revise your work before submitting it. As a result of which you will be able to detect minor errors and see where you've left out crucial information. However, do not spend your time I'm attempting to become a more detailed person. That's not who you are. Find a thorough description of a queen or king, and make that person a member of your team. That is still another viable option. To assist you in overcoming your flaws, they'll pick up on whatever you overlook. And this is the finished result. For your clients, a well-rounded and balanced product is essential. Always keep in mind that in all personal situations, as well as professional growth, your goal is to succeed. To achieve optimum happiness and well-being, as well as your work's productivity and quality. Concentrating on your flaws, you'll never get there if you keep doing what you're doing. So be aware of your flaws. Don't be intentionally deafening, however. Don't expend all of your resources attempting to correct your flaws. Take the time you need to deal with them and put a stop to them so that you are not dragged down by them. Then focus the majority of your efforts on maximizing the advantages that assist you in living a happy life, maximizing the value of your team, and in the end, you'll be successful. Is it possible to have too much of a good thing? Is it possible for a strength to become a liability? Yes, to put it succinctly, any asset can be turned into a burden. This lesson will teach you how to. I'd like to assist you in avoiding overusing your strengths. You will suffer as a result of this. First and foremost, do not overdo it. Anything that is overdone might become harmful. Yes, you want to make the most of your abilities, to put your skills to good use, but unmanaged and overdone, you can be dragged down by your own powers. Let's imagine one of your assets is creativity. Is of importance. Desiring to be seen is very important by others, to be acknowledged. That's a fantastic strength to have and employ. It's likely helped you advance in your career. However, if you rely on it too much without balancing it, it will become unbalanced. Plus a few of your other assets, or failing to work to neutralize some of your shortcomings, you can come across as a jerk if you don't work well with others. Because you're always trying to be the center of attention, your need for significance may take precedence over your ability to make others shine, or to boost the team's morale. It may make you appear haughty and conceited. That is a strength that has turned into a liability when the box is unchecked. Here's one further example. One of your skills, you claim, is command. You have the ability to take command of a situation and make judgments. What a valuable asset to have to assist you in becoming a leader. However, if misused or unmanaged, it can be harmful. It may become a hindrance at times of choosing the best choices, because it may induce you to believe in your own judgment without soliciting feedback from others. It's possible that you'll make decisions without fully comprehending the scenario. Fully or overlook the potentially negative consequences others will be impacted by your decision. Strengths are fantastic, and you should try to make the most of them. But keep in mind that any strength might have a flaw. If you utilize it too often, it might become a liability. Alternatively, you can let it go unchecked. As a result, always strive for equilibrium. Consider how your abilities may be overshadowing those of others, or how your advantages can cause blind spots. Developing is a terrific cure to this. Both self-awareness and a trusted community of counselors, who can provide you with the necessary reality check, this will assist you in reducing the unwanted effects and, more often than not, unforeseen consequences of relying too heavily on your strengths. It's important to remember that the goal is to maximize your strengths, not overpowering with your abilities. Have you ever done any research before to purchasing a new vehicle? You came across a model you'd never heard of before that looked to be a perfect match for your requirements? And then you start seeing that model everywhere. Every day on the way, as if it had just appeared in large numbers overnight? The car, of course, was already on the road. In the same quantity as the day before, however, you were oblivious to it, since it wasn't a priority for you. This is a fantastic metaphor for how you think. You can change the way you approach your current job and come up with creative methods to make your abilities work for you when you don't feel comfortable in your workplace. Understandably, not every workplace is the same, is going to play to your particular talents. So, if you don't think you'll be able to use to hone your skills in your current position, you have to make a change. Here's a plan to help you transform your mindset to your present position. Before you make any major decisions, such as quitting your work, consider the following. I recommend that you start by looking in the mirror. Are you sure you won't be able to put your skills to good use in your current circumstance? Are you making any assumptions that aren't founded on verifiable evidence? Have you made any snap judgments regarding what's possible and what's not? Before you throw your hands up in despair, consider the following. Whether you're looking for a new job or a career shift, attempt to come up with as many options as possible. To look at, notice, and comprehend your existing condition, you might discover that the roadblocks in your path aren't what you expected, are nothing more than opportunity. Let's say one of your strengths is woo, for example. This is one of the terms used by the Clifton Strength Finder for being fascinated by the prospect of meeting new individuals and gaining their trust. People with this kind of strength, breaking the ice gives you a sense of accomplishment. And establishing a relationship with another person, let's say your current job isn't working out, is a software developer who works remotely. You may believe that your day-to-day responsibilities are sufficient. Doesn't give you a lot of options to make a connection with others and persuade them. As a result, alter your strategy and begin looking for ways to disprove your assumption. Have you been squandering or disregarding some chances? Are you able to make some new ones? You'd still be able to do your work if you did that, while simultaneously utilizing your woo prowess. Next, consider the other members of your team. Persons from different departments or clients, whether internal or external. With whom can you make new connections and build new relationships? You could discover that interacting with people is beneficial. Aids in the development of a more well-rounded viewpoint in terms of how your code is used by others. Or come up with creative ways to describe your findings. Or even how to come up with superior ideas. Once you've seen it, you'll be able to solve annoying issues. Through looking through the eyes of others, you can improve your results by changing your strategy. You could discover that utilizing your woo strength is beneficial, could vastly increase the quality of your present work and contentment without having to work any major alterations to your day-to-day operations, and I'm pretty sure no one ever advised you against it. You simply did not consider it in this light, as if you hadn't seen that particular vehicle model previously, despite the fact that it had been present all along. Changing your mindset is a big deal. One of the simplest methods to capitalize on your assets, because you have complete control. You'll be on your way once you've figured out how to adjust your approach. So, if you believe you have certain advantages you don't use at work right now, this lessons exercise can be downloaded here. And utilize it to figure out where you might be in your current position. You should change your approach. You've probably heard of people seeing stuff filtered via rose-colored lenses, a more positive outlook on things when you color your view by looking through a different lens. So, I'd like you to consider your assets via the rose-tinted spectacles. If you're looking for a way out of a dead-end job, being tasked with chores that are a complete waste of time, I'd like you to practice adjusting your viewpoint. To alter your state of mind, this is referred to as reframing. Examining something from a different viewpoint, or a lens to alter your perception of it. You may change a situation by reframing it. Even if it's a dull or tough one, it'll work in your favor. Marcus Buckingham is a writer and musician. One of the founding members of the Strengths movement. In his book, he goes into great detail regarding this. Put your skills to good use. When confronted with activities he claims that aren't bolstering your advantages, you should have a peek at the action. Using one of your strengths as a lens, and you might be able to change how it affects you. You may give it a shot right now. Consider a task that you despise performing. Consider how you can use this activity you've loaded in different ways. May in fact be bolstering one or more of your assets. Don't just look at it on its own. Consider it in the context of the wider picture. Buckingham offers conflict as an example. If you have a lot of individuals to confront, but I adore the sensation of following through, change your perspective to perceive the conflict in a new light. As a single phase in the project's execution from start to finish. If you have a lot of budgeting to do, but enjoy being regarded as an important team member, to see how budgeting works, change your perspective. Will eventually benefit the team. Considering a challenge from a new perspective or framework will frequently assist you in seeing it as a positive or a worthwhile challenge. As an example, let's pretend wooing is one of your skills. The challenge of meeting new individuals excites me. And gaining their trust. Perhaps you're dissatisfied with your existing position. You can't use this particular strength since it's not available. Furthermore, there is a highly comprehensive, you have a boring work component that you despise. Reframing how that detail works is a good start. It actually strengthens your wooing abilities. Without a doubt, you're aware of what I'm talking about. That if you provide your work on time and on budget, you will be successful. And with a high level of precision and quality. Your coworkers, clients, and supervisors would turn into ardent admirers. The difficulty of completing specific solitary work of high quality is basically testing you to see if you can earn the admiration of others and the gratitude of those who rely on you. They receive what they require, and you get to enjoy yourself. Regarding the strength of your woo, as a result, I'd like you to practice adjusting your perspective deftly to your task in order to gain a greater sense of accomplishment. If there is a certain aspect of your job that you despise, look for ways to reframe your perspective. Utilizing one or more of your assets, please find the linked exercise. And see if you can't reinterpret using your strengths how to look at some of your difficulties. Internal promotions are encouraged. Entrepreneurship, development of leadership, organizations can profit in a variety of ways. On their potential for new possibilities, it's usually a lot less expensive in order to reorganize current human resources than it is to find new ones. It's also beneficial for the company's culture and morale in general. The same may be said about leveraging your own abilities. Rather than abandon ship and transferring to a new company or job, it may be less difficult, more cost-effective, and, ultimately, more advantageous. Could simply change your role inside your existing company to make greater use of your skills at work. Begin by taking a look around the company. And keep an eye out for alternative roles that you believe might allow you to shine. Make a list of their responsibilities. Then look up the names of those who are now employed. Under those circumstances, reach out to them and start networking with them. A brief introduction and wondering if you'd be willing to do an informational interview with me along with them. Inquire about their job duties and responsibilities. What strengths do they believe it is based on? What does an average day entail? and some of the job's advantages and disadvantages. After that, you'll need to get the relevant permissions. Some of these persons to observe or shadow to gain an idea of how the job functions personally. I search for proof that you'd be able to put your skills to good use in that position. Another suggestion is to use your imagination. Regarding your current position in the department, consider new ideas. Consider other ways you might be able to help others of a similar mission, but with the aid of other abilities. Maybe you'll make a one-of-a-kind special project assignment. Alternatively, you may form a committee. As an example, if a significant software upgrade is in the horizon or a modification in the system, what services may you provide that are unique to you? To assist in the change effort? You should also keep an eye out for any fresh job openings as a result of a process change, the market, or technology. Would any of those new positions be a good fit for you? For your skill sets and strengths? You could even consider this new direction as a thing you could accomplish for a short period of time, as though it were a stretch assignment. A challenging assignment is a project or a task that employees are required to do as part of their current job. However, the work or project falls outside of their job description and pushes and broadens their current abilities. A stretch assignment could be the ideal solution to put your ideas about what you'd rather be doing to the test. Assume that new role as if it were a test or a pilot. In addition, I dedicated an entire chapter to harnessing in my book. I discuss the developmental benefits of stretch tasks. On a tight budget, employee development. Finally, speak with your superior. You might be astonished to learn that he or she will be open to the possibility of changing your role to make you a more valuable asset to the company. After all, it's a win-win situation. It's definitely worth a try. In the end, if you're unhappy in your current position, doesn't allow you to put your abilities to good use on a regular basis, perhaps you should change jobs to one that does. I understand it's not that simple. Nothing worthwhile is ever simple. So start thinking about how you can make yourself some fresh possibilities without having to look through the classified ads for help. Change your surroundings, change your fortune? Have you ever heard that expression before? If you've tried everything you can to alter your approach, your point of view, or your position within the company, and it still doesn't work, you can always alter your surroundings and look for a new employment. Notice how I didn't recommend this as the initial option, or a second, third, or even fourth option. It's basically only a last-ditch effort, and should remain in that position. Leaving a company and a job is a decision that should not be taken lightly. However, you do not have to plunge into the unknown abyss. You can and should devise a well-considered exit strategy that contributes to your success. This ensures that you're concentrating on your strengths. It's not just about avoiding your flaws. Make a particular time-delineated target, just like any solid strategy, in order to accomplish the transition you desire, and then retrace your steps back to it. Here are some questions to consider. To assist you in making a smooth transition, begin by asking yourself, what are my skills and experiences you'll require to make this transition? What's the best way to start collecting them? Perhaps through a side hustle or a volunteer position. Perhaps a second part-time work. Check to see whether you have specific skills and experiences you are able to point to. Also, consider how much money you should set aside to assist you in your relocation. Changing your role or career might be difficult at times. Involves changing careers and taking a lower-paying job in a different field. Consider how you can reduce your everyday workload. Help cushion your safety net money, as well as monthly expenses for a minimum of a few months. Depending on your shift, it may take a little longer. Then think about people you know who is already employed in that sector or in that position. And how do you re-establish contact with them? What can you gain from an informational interview with them? Take a look at their social media pages and content that they've published. Is there anything you can learn that will help you succeed? My final bit of advice is to work hard, but take your time. Changing jobs or careers is a process that takes time. However, it is not an impossibility. if you establish a strategy and stick to it. So begin planning your future now. Place you can live your best life. Because you are deserving of it. And because your gifts will benefit the entire globe, the world also deserves it in that light. Download the exercise file that is attached to determine whether a new job or career is a good fit for you. When you consider having a discussion with your boss about your suggestions for putting your abilities to better use at work, do you get a knot in your gut when you think about it? Do you have a dry throat or a tightening in your throat? Do you have sweaty hands? Or does your heart begin to race in your chest? No? That's fantastic. But don't be concerned if this is the case. You're not the only one who feels this way. It doesn't matter if it's a first-time conversation. Or possibly one that didn't go as planned. I'd like to assist you in making this talk far less frightening. And a lot more likely to lead to a wonderful discussion. Here are a few pointers to help you get around. Very difficult but crucial discussion. Talk to your boss about how you can play to your strengths more. First and foremost, keep in mind that you have every right to raise this issue. Every person has the potential to improve their abilities, to make use of one's strengths in work. And everyone should do so. There's no need to keep it hidden. Everyone gains when you play to your abilities. Keep that in mind. Make a presentation strategy for your management next. Your boss can only assist you if he or she is aware of your aims and strategy in any serious project. Winging it is a lousy strategy. Sit down and think it through thoroughly. What do you want to get out of this conversation? If everything went perfectly, what would be the best outcome of this discussion? Set reasonable goals for yourself. You want to put yourself in a position to succeed. And stay away from disappointments. Consider your boss's point of view. What would make them feel like they were having a wonderful time? With a positive outcome? Recognizing what constitutes a triumph for them ahead of time can make it more likely that you'll find what you're looking for, that win-win situation. Then go over the details. Describe the adjustments you'd like to make to the way you work. Describe why the team will benefit from these adjustments as well as the organization. The more detailed you can be, the better. When recommending a plan of action, the more your boss recognizes your worth and believe in what you're saying. I also recommend that you plan beforehand. The objections of your boss: consider all of the possibilities. Your boss might object. Or any yeah buts that your boss might come up with. This is an important stage that should not be overlooked. You can overcome objections by thinking about them. More completely develop your strategy and think about remedies to possible difficulties ahead of time. This will strengthen your proposal, and are more likely to be executed successfully. Depending on your manager's relationship with you, as well as previous conversations regarding your development requirements, this discussion can be simple and natural. Or difficult and inconvenient. However, speaking with your boss is a must. On how you can improve your efficiency, engaged and energized can be a fantastically upbeat talk. So don't be intimidated. Download the exercise file that is attached. Then use it as a checklist for your planning, as well as a discussion agenda. If you approach the conversation in a certain way, in a thoughtful and polite manner, you're going to get stronger. Your working relationship with your boss: discover a way that benefits both parties, to make the workplace a better place for everyone involved. When the tide rises, it raises all boats. If you're a group leader, you have a fantastic opportunity to assist your team succeed by focusing on their professional abilities. Each individual has the potential to earn enormous benefit from maximizing their potential and putting them to better use in their day-to-day work. Of course, this includes you. It also applies to each and every member of your team. What an incredible opportunity this gives to you as a leader. You can assist more individuals in becoming more satisfied at work. Enjoy a sensation of flow and fulfillment. They give it their all. Whoa. Of course, it isn't magic, and it necessitates a significant amount of effort. Roll up your sleeves, then, and get to work utilizing the abilities of others. I'd like to recommend a few concrete steps you may take to get going right away. To begin, share what you've learned. If you've never talked about strengths before, now is the time. With your group, they may be unaware that this is a problem they require and are able to work on. Give the gift of self-awareness and learning to someone you care about. Sharing this course is one way to do it. Another option is to convene a team meeting and share some of your most important takeaways from the course as well as your path of discovering your skills. You could also check to see if there is a budget for obtaining a strengths-based training workshop. Alternatively, everyone could take a VIA or a StrengthsFinder evaluation, then have one-on-one meetings with each person. Conversations on strengths are what I call them, with each member of your team to talk about their advantages and how they might use them in their daily work. Request that they list their top 3 strengths. Talk about how they've already put them to use in their current capacity, then think of methods to make their happiness even greater by putting their skills to better use in their work. Assist them in developing their strengths by using a strength development planning technique. Set goals, strategies, and action stages with them to make the most of their assets, and assist them in coming up with new ideas they'd be able to track, measure, and celebrate their progress. Offer assistance without taking on the burden of duty. Then come back to this topic on a regular basis. Once every quarter is an excellent place to start. According to a major Gallup study, that development based on strengths leads to increased sales by 10% to 19%, profits grew by 14 to 29%, a 3 to 7% increase in customer involvement, employee engagement increased by 9 to 15%. As a result, you and your team will benefit everyone. At work, you should play to your strengths more. When the tide rises, it raises all boats. A manager who builds on his or her team's abilities is also a plus. Aids in the advancement of the organization. It's a win-win-win situation. We've made it to the finish of the course, as well as the start of your adventure to utilizing your abilities to their best potential in both your job and personal lives. You already know what a strength is, how to find yours, as well as a method to start putting your abilities to better use in your current occupation. I hope you're both feeling more assured, as well as hopeful. You are more than capable of doing this task. I'll end with my most important piece of advice. You don't have to wait for perfection to make progress. Also, don't think it's too late. The phrase "it's only too late if you don't start now" is one of my favorites. Begin now by taking baby steps. To put your newfound knowledge to use, I strongly advise you to save all of the exercise files to your computer and begin with the 5 clues activity. I also urge that you take an online test, either the VIA Character Strengths Survey, or the VIA Character Strengths Survey, or a Clifton StrengthsFinder evaluation. Both are excellent choices. You can send an email or a survey at any time to your friends and coworkers, requesting their feedback as well as your assets. The most crucial step is to pinpoint your main strengths. However, that appears to be the case for you. I also recommend a few other books, as well as free materials available on my website. Strengths can be found at talentgrow.com/strengths. Some of the now classic strength books are among them. Like As Now, Find Your Strengths. Don Clifton and Marcus Buckingham, Go Put Your Strengths to Work, by Buckingham. If you like to listen to podcasts, check out my podcast. The Talent Grow Show is a television program that focuses on developing talent. It's a 30-minute show that's both energizing and actionable to how individuals and leaders thrive. Also, keep in touch. I'd love to hear about your accomplishments, as well as insights. Please connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. Visit my website, talentgrow.com, for more information. Alternatively, you can follow me on Twitter at @HalaliAzale. Thank you for tuning in. I wish you a fruitful and energizing experience as you go off on this significant adventure of improving one's strength. By taking the time to watch this course, you will be able to, and put money into yourself. You'll be okay. To feeling more fulfilled and effective at work and living a more satisfying life. You only have one life to live, So make the most of it. So go out there and live your best life. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.